No. Oh, I say! Messi. Oh, brilliant skill from Lionel Messi. Surging forward with real menace here. Brilliant from Messi. Oh, what a goal that is!
Yes, good evening. Sam here from Football Heritage TV. Welcome to episode 45 of the Spurs review. That means that this is the 45th episode. The 45th episode. Amazing. Joined tonight by some questionable people, some good people, but some questionable characters as well. Haas, welcome back to the show. How are you, mate? You well?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. It's good to be back. Good to be on the show. Good to be amongst all you fantastic people. Yeah, football's back and it feels good.
Good. And you're joined, as always, by one of your friends from your channel, one of your channel friends. And it's Mr. Ash Matic, who doesn't want us to know where he is. Listen, absolutely, it's your right. Ash, how are you?
Just minding my business, as usual. By the way, if people want to know where I am, I'm in my home. But I thought it looked really cool, and I want the attention to be on moi. How am I feeling? Look, the cold wants to get me, but I'm not letting it. I've got too much honey in my blood. So that cold can't
Ash, mate, do you want the attention, mate? Just rip that shirt off and show those guns, mate. That's attention, mate.
It's what the people want. It's what the people want. They want to see the guns.
What should I watch? So I'm trying to stay warm.
If you show your guns, Barry will show us his. So, it's kind of like a trade-off. We'll all get our guns out later. But big up to Ash. Kate, just a girl who loves Spurs. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Hope everyone's well. Nice to see a lovely panel tonight. I'm surrounded by all these handsome gents and Barry.
Hey!
Oh, wow.
Yes,
wow.
Talking about ugly men. Barry, how are you, mate? Are you all right? How are we doing?
Well, I heard Perchie wasn't about, so I had to step in, didn't I, to be the flogging of the panel tonight. Obviously, I got some backup with Jacob there next to me, so we're having no Emerson Royale hate, none of that nonsense tonight. So yeah, if you do, I've got some backup tonight, so be careful.
Well, yeah, I mean, listen, you're back up all the way from the other side of the world. Here he is. Jacob, how are you, man? Welcome to the Spurs Review.
Oh, thank you. My debut on the Spurs Review. Been watching, long-time watcher, chatter of the Spurs Review. Happy to be here, surrounded by some friendly faces. I know we're all, before the show, we were all talking about how much we love Christian Romero. So I just know it's going to be a great love fest here for Tottenham Hotspur.
Absolutely. So many positives. Listen, today we're going to talk about many things. Obviously, Tottenham are the only team that haven't played, of the big boys, Tottenham are the only team that haven't played this weekend. We're playing Fulham tomorrow night with the chance to go top. Go on, Haas.
No, top.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were putting your hand up like to say something. I thought that's really polite. That's really weird. But okay, fair enough. And listen, it's been an interesting weekend. We've had Arsenal and Chelsea drawing with each other. Man City back to winning ways. They're top of the Premier League. You've got Aston Villa, who won't go away. I tried to tell people about them in the summer. They won't go away. But Tottenham Hotspur tomorrow against Fulham. Ash, I'm going to come to you first, my friend. What I want to talk about first and foremost for the first segment. We go in. We've got no injuries. I think this was confirmed very much by Post-Kane throughout the week that all of the Son's injured again. No, he's not. Romero's in. No, he's not. They're all fit. Brennan Johnson's been training, but we do go into the game, Ash, without Ibasuma. How much does this change our midfield? And this is what the first 15 minutes is going to be about, people, is that midfield and Basuma. How much does this change the way we play, Ash, and who comes in for you?
Yeah, Højbjerg's the natural replacement, as he said on the actual conference. That's what Ange was more or less saying. So I believe that he's going to slip straight into that number 6 role, that defensive mid role. How much will it change? Of course, we'll lose a bit of impotence going forward because we know Basuma on the ball likes to carry the ball a lot, likes to dribble, he plays on, he's press resistant, he's a little bit more positive on the pitch. But at times I do expect him and Sarr to be team him up at times, being two defensive midfielders in that position. Don't always expect Højbjerg just to be sitting back, even though last season we did see him do that quite a bit. I think he'll offer maybe passing, giving it a bit quicker, you know. Sometimes Basuma holds on to the ball a little bit too long for my liking. Maybe Højbjerg can do that forward pass, which releases some of our wingers or one of our forward players a little bit early, and we find space, because I expect Fulham to be really congested, low block, mid block, whatever you want to call it. I think they're going to park the bus. So I think out wide, we need to stretch the pitch. I think the depth needs to be a lot more. So balls over the top, switching the play. I think that's what Højbjerg can offer us in that final third. So I'm hoping to see that from him. But everyone else is fit. So as long as Romero is aggressive and he's pushing high and he's being positive, as long as we see a performance from Maddison, you know, Maddison sometimes can't see the ball, so sometimes he drops into that midfield free, and he tries to dictate and tries to find that forward pass. As long as we see, this is a debate now. Okay, here we go. So on the left-hand side, does Richarlison get dropped, or is it Brennan Johnson? Is he fit enough to start straight away? Nobody knows quite of yet. The question is, though, before you jump, and you probably get into this into the segment, is with Brennan Johnson, when teams have a high line, Brennan Johnson's obviously effective. But when teams are dropping off, when they're quite deep, would we start a Brennan Johnson when he's got nothing to run into, if that makes sense? Do you probably go in for someone else that's a little bit more that we can hit on diagonal balls, crosses, someone like a Richarlison? I'm no fan of him, but maybe this is the type of game that he might get more chances on. We saw against Luton, he didn't score any goals, but he was getting in goal scoring, creating opportunities. It's unfortunate that we don't have anyone else of that type of ilk that we could probably put on the left-hand side, but it's just an interesting thing I thought I'd throw up.
Yeah, it's definitely segment number 2. So thanks, Ash. It is going to be segment number 2, because I think there's a good talking point there with everyone fit. Kate, let me come to you. I think we're all talking like it's Højbjerg. I think Postecoglou's alluded to it. Lots of people today have been talking about, oh, well, could Kulu possibly go in and play in the midfield area with Brennan Johnson on the right? Or could Giovanni Lo Celso go in there? Or Brian Hill? Do you see any of these guys as viable candidates, or do you think it's going to be Højbjerg?
I'm glad I had time to answer after Ash's rather lengthy answer there. Sorry, Ash. You've taken Alan's place tonight. He was the one giving the 2-hour-long answers.
I didn't know there was a time limit. I didn't know. Now I know. Sorry.
Neither did we. Kate's just being Kate.
I time everything. I'm just saying.
Hey, just say whatever Ash said.
Yeah. I would like to see Kulu down the middle, but I don't see it happening. I don't see him making any big changes. I think Richarlison will start. I think Højbjerg will come in. It's the easy one to slot in. I think Kulu will play. I would like to see it a bit more experimental than that. But because the likes of Johnson and Hill haven't really had any minutes yet, he's probably not going to start them. But I said it earlier, it's hard to be critical of anything Ange does at the minute because we haven't been beaten yet. So I just see him slotting in Højbjerg in Basuma's place, which will please Ellie. And then keeping it pretty much the same apart from that.
Yeah, this is my worry. I'll come to my opinion later. I mean, Jacob, Højbjerg, if he does start, I think we know it's going to be him, a very different player to Yves Bissouma. What does Spurs lose, and do we gain anything? What do we gain and what do we lose from Højbjerg coming in for Bissouma?
Well, we lose a lot of creativity. We lose the ability from someone to pick up the ball in our own box and drive it beyond the halfway line. I think you lose a lot of things when you lose an Yves Bissouma. I'm throwing out that, or I said this on my channel at least, that I think Giovanni Lo Celso, he doesn't ever tweet about Tottenham Hotspur, but he tweeted the other day, and it was a picture of him and then a picture of him at training, and the third picture was him and Yves Bissouma being buddy-buddy. And to me, this is on the same day that Postecoglou came out and said, look, Pierre-Emile Højbjerg is the obvious choice. He's the ready-made. He's come in and he's done X, Y, and Z, and yada, yada, yada. I think that's Postecoglou saying, look here, while we secretly move this here. That's just, hey, you know me, I like my tinfoil hat conspiracies. I'm saying Giovanni Lo Celso, he may be the surprise candidate to fill in for Bissouma. And if you think of an athletic standpoint, I don't rate Giovanni Lo Celso in any way. Anyone who's ever seen my channel knows that I don't have a lot of good things to say about the guy, but physically, I think of a profile, he offers us more close to a Bissouma than a Højbjerg's physical profile does. And so I'm not saying I would be upset if I saw Giovanni Lo Celso starting in that midfield, but it could be a shout. I think that if you're looking for the most like-for-like replacement, you're not going to find that with this midfield. That you just don't have a Bissouma-like in this midfield. But as a person who's got the physical ability, now if he can do it and execute it, that's up to Ange Postecoglou to decide. But I think this may be a little smoke and mirrors. Look over here at Højbjerg. While Giovanni Lo Celso, I'm just saying that purely he never tweets about Spurs. It also had a hashtag Coys. So this guy, I think he's feeling the Tottenham love right now. And he's like, Ange is giving me a chance. And maybe he steps in and he plays the role that, I doubt it. I don't have much good things to say about the guy, but hey, never know what could happen or what Postecoglou may be cooking up.
Barry, Jacob, we've brought him on here. He's starting to throw around these conspiracy theories. It's like when the Liverpool fans all saw Jude Bellingham wearing a red T-shirt and then decided that he was signing for them. Or has Jacob got a point? Lo Celso, could we see him come into the midfield?
Well, I'm kind of on board with Jacob there. He's just so convincing in the way that he's just put that out there. With the tone, is just like his voice when he speaks. It's mesmerizing and sexual. Sexually mesmerizing. There you go. But look, I think everyone would say the obvious choice is Højbjerg. I mean, if you want to compare him to Yves Bissouma, it's like comparing him with a cat. I mean, there's no comparison. Højbjerg and Bissouma. I know Ellie's going to be in the chat talking about her boy Pierre, but look, I wouldn't be against it. I think we need to what we've been lacking, and we can't just have Maddison doing it all on his own, right? He's the only person that's really creating stuff. And what I want to see is what I've seen all weekend, and what we've been watching all weekend is wingers going down the line and beating their man and driving towards the goal. That is what we want. That is what I want to see. We saw Doku and Foden doing it. We saw Aston Villa doing it today. We saw so many teams doing it. But I'm just worried that we're going to
the only team that don't do it, from what I can see.
I'm just worrying that we've seen what happens when we go down that line, which we've done not many times. But when we go down that line, whether that is Kulu going down that line once out of 100 that I think he's done, or we see Porro on the overlap, or a doggy on the overlap on the other side, it works. And I just want to see that tomorrow, because if Lo Celso comes in, he's got a point to prove. And I think what we've seen from all the other players is that Ange has made these players better. Whether they're capable or not, he's made them better. And there's Jacob. Look, he's loving it.
This is the photo in question. Some people in the chat were asking about the photo. Oh. This is the photo in question. He never tweets about us, but look, he said we are back, and there was a Coys, or he tagged Spurs. So there you go.
Well, there you go. Lo Celso starting tomorrow night, according to Jacob. There we go. Photo evidence.
I'm just throwing it out there. Hey, you never know.
Let me come to you. I'll mix up the question for you. I'll be honest, mate. I don't, you know me, I don't mix my words. I would rather see anyone start above Højbjerg tomorrow. I would rather see something different. I'm not a massive fan of any of them, but I would rather see a Kulu in the middle. I would rather see a Lo Celso in the middle. Where are you at with this? And if Højbjerg does play, is this a good game for him to play? A team that they're okay. They're not great, right? They're okay. Is it a good game for him to come into?
Yeah, I think it's troublesome. Obviously, we all said this before. When we lose one of that three in the midfield, it's going to cause some problems and stuff. But for me, I think with Lo Celso, and I'll go by what I've seen for Argentina because that's when he's at his best. He's a versatile player, brings really good attacking qualities whenever I've seen him play for Argentina. And the most important attribute, I think, with Lo Celso is that he's got an engine on him, which post-Kane likes in all his players. So, yeah, he's got the ability to win the ball and he's got the ability to sort of press as well. Also, when he's playing a bit further forward as well, he sort of likes to withdraw and receive possession. So I think he fits into, Postecoglou's ideal sort of player that he wants in the middle. But having said that, if he plays, I mean, who have we got playing in that more deeper role as a more defensive player? Is it going to be Sarr? Is it, is he going to bring Skip in to be more defensive? I don't want to see Skip come in because I don't think he's either of those players. I think he's very limited. But, Bissouma brings you that defensive ability as well at the back, whilst also being able to get forward. So, yeah, I think it's also, look, Kulu coming in the middle. Is it the ideal game? I don't know. I've just had enough of Kulu, playing down the wing, cutting the ball back, as we all know. One trick pony. He needs to do something else if he's playing on the wing. For me, he's got an okay passing range. He's got good technical ability on the ball. I think why not give him a go in the middle and then play Sarr a bit further back, perhaps as a more defensive player. But, judging from that photo, you can make anything you want of it, really. But, it's not a coincidence, I suppose, that he's with Bissouma. And he, like you lot said, it's not, he doesn't post every time, online. So it's a bit of a coincidence. But if he does come in, I think, I just think with the likes of Palhinha, last time he was excellent against Tottenham. Yeah. He was the one who sort of mopped up everything. So we're going to need to be strong in that midfield because you can just see it. Tomorrow he's going to have one of those games. You can just feel it.
Yeah, there's a difference, isn't there, between Højbjerg coming in for the last 10, 15 and mopping things up and actually starting a game. But for me, I think that we'll be okay with him in there because this is, look, Fulham they've won 3, lost 3, drawn 2. So they're okay, right? They're okay. I think their Premier League position sums it up. They're 13th in the table. They've got a -5 goal difference. And the big thing for me, which is why I think we will win tomorrow comfortably, is they've only scored 8 goals all season. So they average 1 goal a game. But moving on, and I won't go round. We'll just have a general conversation. So whoever wants to start can. Ash brought up a good point there about, look, Brennan Johnson, if he is now fit, what do we do? Because we bought in Brennan Johnson. He was the player, the only signing, if I'm right, somebody will tell me if I'm wrong, he was the only signing after Harry Kane had gone. That was the signing, right? The forward signing. Everyone was saying he was the number 1 target, which I think is a load of BS. Otherwise, we wouldn't have signed him on the last minute of deadline day. But I feel that he's completely wasted on that left. Just for me, I don't see him as a left-sided player. I agree with Barry. I'd like to see a player like him on the right actually get into the byline and trying to get in behind. Where are we all with this? Because Kulu seems to be playing every minute on the right-hand side. No one seems to be nailing down a position on the left. This season, we've seen Solomon start there. We've seen Richarlison start there. We've seen Sonny start there. We've seen Brennan Johnson start there. Is this becoming a bit of a problem position for Spurs? And what do we do with this front three? Anyone can go.
It's a crazy one because it depends on the manager. If he wants his wingers to invert and take shots or cross from a certain angle, then that's what you're going to see a lot of the time from a lot of the players. And I think it's down to the fullbacks, as you guys said before, to create the overloads on the outside and then whip those balls in. But I think there should be a there should be a time when you're able just to switch it and say, all right, Kulu, you go on the left. All right, Johnson, you go on the right. So then you have your left footer crossing with his left foot, and you have your right footer crossing with the right foot. But I do understand the logic.
Sorry, run me by that complicated theory again.
Oh, you're right foot. My bad. Sorry, the right footer on the right hand side.
Taking the piss. Yeah, it's gone out of football. It used to be that way, right?
But
it used to be that way.
But I'm just saying. I don't know. I could be wrong. I don't know. I don't know much about football. But yeah, basically, all I'm saying is sometimes because we were so narrow against Sheffield United, Luton, we started really fast. Obviously, we went down to 10 men and then we kind of stunk it out after that. But it would be nice if we're at home and we took more risks. And I do understand where you guys are coming from with the whole, sorry to go back to it, Lo Celso debate, where you kind of want someone that's more forward thinking on the pitch, because with Højbjerg, he kind of sits deep. And because he sits so deep, we kind of invite that kind of pressure on, if that makes sense. Because sometimes he acts like a third centre back. He's just very negative, backwards, sideways, etc., not press resistant, and always pointing his hands all left and right. But going back to the other question, you kind of want your wingers, if like the pitch is super compact in the middle, why keep going down that route? It doesn't make sense. For me, it makes sense.
Whoa.
Yeah, I mean, Jacob, we've got to put, Ash has got a point there. When you look at it, I feel like there's been many games where you think we need to make the pitch bigger, we need to make it wider, we need to attack teams down the lines. We don't ever seem to do that. Do you believe that that's a deliberate tactic from Postecoglou, or is it more about personnel than tactics? What do you think?
I think either side of the pancake, you can cook it right, because if it's Kulusevski, then that's a personnel problem. He's not the winger that's going to expand the pitch. Now, is he? At any moment, when he does get oodles of space in front of him, what does he do? He will stop and cut it back and look for the safe pass. It's just time and time again, we see the same thing. I do like what Ash said about let's have the left footer play on the left and Brennan Johnson, the right footer, play on the right. Now, I know you alluded to the fact that you said Brennan Johnson was not, that you hold doubts that he was in fact this number one target. I don't think he was the number one target for the club, but I think for Ange Postecoglou, when he came in, around the time it would take to trickle down from him as a new head manager to get to the recruitment of this is the profile of player I want, then they landed on Johnson, and it could take a little bit longer with that process. And so I could still see a world in which Brennan Johnson is the number one target. Now, if that's what I'm led to believe, there's no excuse that if he's not 100%, he has to be starting, because Ange Postecoglou, this is your guy. This is the guy you said he fits X, Y, and Z of what I need from a winger, from a forward. So if that's the truth, and I'm led to believe that as a casual, let me see it. The proof is in the pudding. So I think Brennan Johnson has to start. Now, if that's on the right and Kulu on the left, remains to be seen. But whether it's Brennan Johnson on the left, I think Ange Postecoglou will figure out. I trust that he's had enough time with an injured Brennan Johnson, and now he didn't go anywhere for the international break. He was in the same building as Ange the whole time. So I think that I trust whatever we do end up doing. But Brennan Johnson, if he's in and around 100% fitness, he has to start, because I'm operating under the assumption that he is Ange Postecoglou's number one sign, that he is the guy that we could grab that fit the profile of what Ange was looking for specifically.
Well, yeah, look, I mean, there's a lot to be said for it. And again, look, your description there as a casual, look, we're all casuals. None of us are privy to what's going on at the club. I only have my doubts purely because I think Brennan Johnson was an easy get. If I'm brutally honest, I think Brennan Johnson from Forest is an easy get. If you want him in the summer, you don't wait until the last day of the window, from my point of view. But that's just me. Barry, you alluded to it there. You know me better than most on this panel in terms of my opinions of wingers that actually are wingers. All weekend we've seen it. Foden and Doku absolutely destroyed Brighton with their driving forward, driving at their fullbacks. Jared Bowen today was very good at driving at his fullback. Zaniolo. Zaniolo, Diaby driving at their fullbacks. Mudryk and Sterling yesterday driving at their full. Saka, Martin. We seem to be the only team that don't do this, Barry. Now, people can say, oh, that's how Ange plays. But for me, that's our weakness, in my opinion. I don't think it's going to matter too much against Fulham. I'm not talking about tomorrow's game. But do you think that is somewhere where we've spent a lot of money but still haven't quite got it right down the flanks?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think the difference is what we've seen so far and what we've seen beforehand is that we'd get the ball, we'd get the pace, we'd get down the wings, and all of a sudden the move would slow down because we'd cut inside or we'd go backwards or whatever we need to do. Now, it's fine to do that, but what we saw from everyone else today is when they do cut inside, they're driving. They're taking their man on. They're not looking for the pass back to try and create that space or do anything like that. So that's what I would like to see. I honestly think out of all the players that have been injured, I actually think that Perisic has created more of a headache because of his ability to get down on that left-hand side, to drive on that left-hand side, to use his experience, and we saw that against Sheffield United when he came on. He made such a difference on that left-hand side, and compared to what Solomon was doing, because Solomon was cutting inside and then he was passing it back and everything else. And I think it's led to more of it's highlighted now that both sides are lacking, let's just say, in that drive to get down there. I would love to see. I mean, obviously, look, you've seen Porro, you've seen a doggy, you've seen them invert and then cut inside and drive at their men in the kind of center of the pitch. I just want to see us bang the ball out wide. Kulu takes it. Porro goes on the overlap. He pings it into Porro. Porro whips it into that penalty spot, and someone just puts it in the top bins. Do you know what I mean? That's what I want to see. And I think if we could see that tomorrow, and I think it's not going to be as easy as everyone thinks. Everyone thinks, don't be like Arsenal. We're going to smash Fulham. Yeah. We're going to do this. I think if we don't score in the first half an hour, the stadium's going to go quiet. It's going to do its usual thing. It's going to go quiet. It's going to go nervy. Then you're going to get everyone coming into the comments and everyone sending WhatsApp messages, all the Arsenal fans. Oh, look, Spurs are bottling it, the chance to go top. It's all going to happen. It's all going to play on that. And I just think that we just need to, tomorrow is a real opportunity to go out there, make a statement, go 3-0 up by half time, and then everyone can kind of just manage the game out and then look forward to Palace and then look for, because that's not going to be an easy game. And everyone's sitting there going, we could be 5 points clear come Friday, 10 o'clock, but we're going to have to do a hell of a lot of work to get to 5 points clears. I don't think, personally, aside of Arsenal, I don't think we've actually played that well. Genuinely. We've got the results. We've got a lucky VAR decision against Liverpool.
Lucky? Ain't no luck.
Aside from that, Burnley,
ain't no luck.
Okay, Burnley played well. Arsenal played well. The rest of it, I'm not too sure.
Before I absolutely bury, may I just say, we're over 30 minutes in. There's over 300 of y'all. Hit the like for Sava's channel. Hit the like. Subscribe if you haven't already. Sava hasn't asked not once, so I just have to butt in here and just say, hit that like. It's absolutely free. Costs you nothing but the click of a finger, so no excuses. But I just want to say, it wasn't luck, by the way, Barry. Liverpool, and none of that was luck. Joel Matip had a hell of a goal. Thank you very much, Joel.
Well, we are gonna come to that a little bit later in the show about how well we've actually played. So we will get to that. Haas, Brennan Johnson, simple question for you. Is he a right winger? Is he a left winger? Where do you see him?
I see him wherever Ange wants to play. Simple as that.
Don't be that guy.
No, I'm joking.
Don't be that guy.
Don't be that guy.
No, look, I see him at left wing, to be honest. I think we need someone there. I don't think Richarlison's that guy to be playing on the left. although that's where he was playing at Everton, that's where he had his most success. But, we want to play on the front foot. We want to sort of break away with the ball, Maddison pinging the ball up, and we need to get him running at players. But I definitely see him playing up on the left wing. Definitely this week. Hopefully he's going to be in place of Richarlison. I haven't seen much of Richarlison this season or last season, to be honest. And, it doesn't inspire me full of confidence. So, yeah, I definitely see him on the left. And, I don't know how we can sort of utilise him up top because I've not seen him play up top, only as a substitute. But, anything's got to be better than Richarlison at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, Kate, let me come to you to finish off this bit. I mean, it's an interesting one. We've seen a few minutes from Brennan Johnson. Not his fault. He's picked up injury. For me, when we signed him, I was, as you know, I was very 50-50. I'm still 50-50 about it. Of course, I want him to come good. I do feel that for 45 million, there's so much better out there that we could have bought, but it's who we've got. I was really disappointed to see him start on the left. I don't want to see this guy start on the left. I'm the opposite to Haz. I'm getting really bored of everyone playing on the opposite wings. What do you make of this? And what do you think he was brought in mind for? Not what we're doing now, but what was he brought in mind for?
I agreed with Ash, exactly what he said about switching Kulu to the other side and having Brennan Johnson that side. It just makes sense. It's common sense. It's just madness. I think personally, he's brought Brennan Johnson in as sort of an assistant striker, if you like, because he has got quite a good shot on him, to be fair. And he's only going to get better. I also was thinking it not a bad idea to put Sarr more in Basuma's role, perhaps bring Porro more forward as more of the attacking midfielder and having Emerson Royale start at the back. I know I don't like Emerson Royale either, but I think Porro could do a job for us going forward massively.
Yes.
What really concerns me, Sava, is where our goals are coming from. I don't feel confident with Sonny tomorrow if they play this lowish block, because when we played against Sheffield United and Luton, he could not get away into the game. Richarlison couldn't hit a barn door. Kulu, I would have him on the other side, and Brennan Johnson, obviously, we don't know. So I think we're going to. That concerns me so much, the whole attacking threat. That really worries me about tomorrow.
Well, Kate, can I interject what Kate was saying there for a second?
Go for it, man.
Kate, love you very much. Shout out hashtag Jim in
I
every
said
day.
one word against Son. I've just realised. Sorry, Jacob.
Hashtag Jim in. Everybody.
Hashtag Jim in every single
time. Here we
go.
I'll start the movement in the chat. If everyone could, hashtag Jim in.
Hashtag Jim in every single time. What I will say is, you hit the nail on the head first after you made your first mistake. So you said Richarlison couldn't hit a barn door. If Richarlison could do what Trossard did yesterday, which is be at the far post and be able to first time that into the back of the net, like a true forward should be able to do, then I think that opens up the low block more. The game becomes a lot more open once you go 1-0, 2-0 up. So if Richarlison did finish his meal, I would like to see Sonny versus a team that likes to sit back in a low block but has now been opened up because we actually have attacking. Look, the goals come from all over the place. They don't just come from a central position. The reason that Son had the burst of goals in that central position was because we hadn't utilized the central position yet. So my thought here is, if we do have a winger that said, because Luton, they like to sit back. Fine, you sit back. We're going to bring the fight to you. And that's how we can operate. We're not going to change the way we play based on an opponent's way that they play. Ange has said that much, so I'm led to believe that. And that's why I don't worry about Son versus low block, because if you have attacking powers on the other side, his object to do versus that low block is to get there in the middle and get the attention of those two center backs or that six to sit back on him. And then that should create for the James Madisons, the Brennan Johnsons, Kulus, wherever they may be, inside or around the box. Once you do that, and you can effectively do that, which we did versus Luton, we just didn't finish our dinner. Thank you, Richarlison. So if he does get those goals, it does open up that low block more. That's what I wanted to say.
That's kind of the point, Jacob. You're doing ifs, buts, and monkey nuts. If Richarlison could do this, if Richarlison could do that, but he can't. And that's why Son's a worry in the middle. That's the point. Because
but if Richarlison doesn't start, then that makes that whole point null and void.
Yeah, but will he not start?
That's what I'm saying. Brennan Johnson better start. He better start. Come on.
I mean, let's have that discussion then. Again, I don't want to do the whole round robin thing. I don't want to keep asking people. We'll just have the general chat. Are there enough goals in Tottenham Hotspur? Now, people say at the moment, oh, well, Van der Ven's got 1 and Romero's got 2. But in general, are there enough goals around this team? I'll tell you what I mean by that is when I look at some of the teams around us, and I know people are going to look at the stats right now, but I look at Liverpool and I think they've got goal scorers everywhere. Liverpool have got goals from everywhere. They've got 5 forwards that they can put in who are all, let's be fair, all 5 of their forwards walk into our forward line, right? I don't know if anyone's going to disagree with that. I think all 5 of their forwards get into our forward line. Then they've got goals from midfield from the likes of Szoboszlai and McAllister when they get going as well, both proven goal scorers in their careers. I look at Arsenal and we know their front three can all score goals. We know that Odegaard can score goals. You look at Man City. We know that Man City score goals from absolutely everywhere. Newcastle look frightening at the moment. They're putting 4s past PSG. They're putting 4s past Palace. They're putting 8 past Sheffield United. You look at Aston Villa, who I think have got a very competent forward line. I think all of their forward line score goals. They've then got goals from the likes of John McGinn. Douglas Luiz has already got 5 from central midfield. And then I look at us. I don't see it. That's just me. I want to get your guys' opinion. I don't see that there's enough goals there. And I don't think we've spent very well considering we've brought in 3 attacking players this window. And I'm not including James Maddison. 4. We brought in Kulu, Brennan Johnson, Solomon and Valise. And I still don't think any one of those is that good. So is anyone else worried about goals?
Yeah.
I personally,
sorry, Ash. Go on.
No, just quickly. I just think traditionally you look at the front 3 and you want them to be super clinical. And that's what's going to win you the games. And I think this season we haven't been that. So I think that's where our first issue lies. But I think with this system that Ange is employing, he kind of wants goals from all over the pitch. And again, it comes down to finishing your dinner because I think Porro should have scored a goal against Luton. He had a chance. He was inside the box. For me, he's 1v1. You got to put that away. I think goals-wise, Maddison can score more. I think definitely he can contribute a lot more. And I just expect from all over the pitch, whether it be Sarr. I thought after Sarr scored that goal against Manchester United, I was expecting him to kick on. And
but Ash, sorry, I just want to interject there. I agree with you, but again, I feel like when the way Kate pulled up Jacob on that, I'm going to pull you up on the same thing. Yeah, I feel like what we're saying is if they do this, if we get the goals from here, are there goal scorers though? Because when I look through this team, who in this team has ever had a good year of scoring goals? Maddison? Son. No, that's my worry, and that's why I've gone on record a lot and said for that money we spent between Brennan Johnson and Kulu, which is I believe about somewhere in the region of £75 million for the 2 of them. For me, that's a striker that's guaranteeing you 20 goals a season. That was my worry. Do you see what?
Yeah, I hear you, but it's the actual chances that we are creating. So we expect more from this team because I do get what you're saying. You want, like you said, Maddison, you're saying Son, Kulu's maybe not done it. So you're looking at players that have done it as opposed to a spread of goals across the team because before we've had Kane, who scored majority of our goals, but now we haven't got that focal point that scores that many goals. My thing was, I'm expecting a lot more goals across the board, across the team. And because it's early on, it has to be an if because these guys haven't done it before. So I am talking in a hypothetical way because...
So we have 9 different goal scorers right now or something like that?
Yeah,
7, 8, 9. So we are doing that.
We are. But I feel like we're confusing multiple goal scorers with volume. That's the thing for me. So, like, for example, when I watch Villa play, I feel like I use Villa as an example because I think we'll be close to them at the end of the season. People have a go at me. I think we're going to be closer to them than we are to winning it, right? I look at them and I just think Watkins looks dangerous every time he's on the pitch. It doesn't matter if they play a low block team. It doesn't matter if they play a team that play a high line. Ollie Watkins is involved in the game and constantly threatening. So is Diaby. Douglas Luiz is getting shots off. You know, I look at us and I feel like we don't have that. I'm just using them as an example, by the way. That's my worry.
Well, Sarr gets those shots off as well. Sarr likes to pop up in dangerous areas and outside, inside the box. So I think that he could be a potential to rival the Aston Villa talk, because I do value what they did in this offseason. I think that they are a good side, but they have European nights to contend with, and we have nights to rest when they do that. So that should be our advantage in the long run. Will that be an advantage? I don't know, but I think that I'm not as concerned. To answer your general question before, when you opened it up, Sava, was, are we concerned that there's going to be a lack of goals? I think we're going to score from, like Ash was saying, from all over the pitch. And we've started to do that, where in the games where we do have, there's a center back scoring, then midfielder scores, and then now Son scores. Or there's a varying, it's not just, oh, here's Kane with the brace. There's the striker with the brace. And there's only been, I think, two matches where it's only been Son primarily scoring the goals. So I think things, once we have a stable set of strikers, look, I'm not trying to do the argument that Arsenal fans did. We're in an injury crisis. We haven't had our starting front three and et cetera, et cetera. But I use that argument like, look, if other clubs can say we're in an injury crisis because we haven't seen our ideal front three or our ideal midfield three, we haven't either. Bentancur has been hurt since the season started. We haven't even seen him under Ange ball yet. So my point is, I'm not concerned. I think those things are going to get cleaned up and they're going to be more clinical once we have a set piece. Because to be frank, have we seen yet an 11 where we all say, yes, out of our entire roster, this is our strongest 11 that we can put
do we know what that, do we even know what that is? If I open that question up, a question within a question, we're talking about the goal scorers. Do we even know what that, I think we know what our best goalie is, right? Does everyone agree? We know it's Vicario.
Yeah.
We know our best back four, right?
Yeah.
We know our best midfield three, right?
But that's where, yeah.
The only question mark will be when Bentancur gets fit, if he's the same player. For me, it's not a question mark, by the way. I think he's miles better than Papa Sarr. Miles better than Papa Sarr. But in the forward line, does anyone know what the front three is? Could anyone sit here right now and go, this is the best front three we can play all season? Because I'm not enamoured with any of them other than Son.
The problem is all of them, their form's been indifferent, and you can put Son in that category as well. None of them have been consistent. Like if you look at the midfield three, they've been consistent. You know, from day one we said Maddison, Sarr, Bissouma, that's our midfield three. From day one we said the back four, that's our back four. But the front three, you know, the form has been so indifferent that you can't say for sure this person's going to start, this player's going to start, this player's going to start. Maybe apart from Son, because Son's got 6 goals. He's got the most out of those 3. Richarlison's got 2, and I think Kulusevski's got 2 as well. And you can throw in Romero on 2 goals as well, Jacob.
Nice.
And also one for you as well, Barry. Royale's got 1 as well.
I was waiting for the shade to come.
Goal of the month nominee, if I'm not mistaken.
Barry.
Exactly.
Jacob, let me carry on.
Just quickly, when I see comments like this, I feel like people aren't understand what I'm saying. I'm not saying how many we've scored to date. I'm saying we know what Man City do with goal scorers. We know Man City will score goals from everywhere, and they do it every year. We haven't seen it from Spurs. This is new. By the way, I'm not saying we won't. I'm asking. I need people to understand this is about debate. I'm trying to find debate. And I don't think I know what our best front three is. And in years gone by, it's been pretty simple to go Kane, Son, Kulu.
So that's how I think that I was going to get to. Sorry, Sava. I was going to get to the one logical thing that we needed to do this summer was to find a competent goal scorer after getting rid of Kane. And I think we relied too much on saying, actually, we'll just bring Son in and he'll get us some goals. But, you know, he needs a service from Maddison and others around him to get the goals. And he likes to do that as well. He likes to drop a little bit, you know, deeper around the box and provide the service as well. So we needed someone ideally, with clinical finishing. All summer we said we was going to get Orban. All summer we was linked to this, that, and the other player, and it just didn't happen. So, there's only so many times that Maddison and Son's going to come in and get the goals for us. We need someone that is comfortable in that 9 position, that's going to receive the ball and score the goals for fun. Having said that, if you look at Arsenal, they're in a similar boat as well. Not just Arsenal. They're if you look at where their goals have come from, it's mainly been Saka, right? And then it's been spread out through the front three and a couple of goals from the midfield. Similarly, with other teams as well, with Manchester City, they haven't got I know they've got Haaland, but he's been a bit hit and miss lately. Apart from him, where are the goals coming from?
Hang on, I'm going to refute this. Sorry, what I keep hearing this, right? If Erling Haaland has been hit and miss with his 9 goals in 9 games,
didn't he score?
What on earth does that say about every other striker in the Premier League?
And I'll counter what you just said, right? Because of his season, because of his form last season, right? Right. I feel like I can't hear him, like he's talking, but
I'm not saying anything.
Oh, right, okay, cool. No, he's going like that. No, Haaland, like he set himself up, set the bar so high last season that this season, like, it's almost like his normal sort of thing. Last season, he come in, he was banging goals left, right, and centre. And in a few games, like some games, we've seen him like missing in the games that they've lost. That's all I'm saying. Like, usually.
Can I just as a side argument to that, couldn't you say at the moment his goal ratio has him to score more goals than last season?
Really?
Well, last year, what did he get? 35 goals in the Premier League. This year, he's got 9 in 9. If he does that every game, then you're looking at 38 and 38. Like, I don't understand where this Erling Haaland's been hit and miss has come. Like, can you imagine? I'd love a hit and miss striker who's got 9 in 9.
I think it's only because he only has 2 hat tricks, Sava. He only has the 2 hat tricks, but I think that's what I think. But also, I think the fact that KDB's not there with his passing has affected his general output. But the expectation for Haaland, I think, is through the roof. But I wanted to talk about one of the points you were bringing up in regards to our front three. You were saying that everyone's had a moment this season of being hit or miss. And I would argue that maybe potentially, I'm just throwing an idea out here, that Brennan Johnson through the middle and Son at the left. Son was not ineffective as a left winger those first 3 matches when Richarlison was a striker. I think he had 5 key passes in the first 3 matches. Richarlison just couldn't finish them. If Richarlison finished 4 out of 5, 3 out of 5, he has 3-4 assists in the first 3 matches. And then I think we have a difference. We're talking a little bit different as Son as a left winger, because I think when he got moved to the 9, people said, "Oh, that's it. He's a 9 for the rest of his life." I still think in this system he could be that maybe that's an option to explore. If Brennan Johnson is this ineffective left winger, well, we still have a left winger who can in this system get the number 9 the ball at his feet in a position where he should score. Now, if Brennan Johnson can do that, we didn't see it versus Arsenal, but maybe he could. I don't know. I'm just throwing out an option out there that, look, I don't think Son was ineffective as a left winger this season just because Richarlison couldn't finish his dinner.
I mean, do you know one of the other things that I think one of the other things that we're overlooking is the amount of yellow cards that we've been getting. We're not disciplined enough, and you can argue that some of them shouldn't have been yellow cards or whatever, but they all knew the rule. They all knew that kicking the ball away or remonstrating with the referee is going to get him a yellow card. We've got 27 yellow cards in 8 games and one red. That's massive, and I think that's part of the reason. And just kind of looking at the cross accuracy. Actually, we're only 1% less than Man City's. So that just goes to prove what nonsense some of the stats can be, right? But I generally think that we've got to improve that discipline, because if we keep getting players banned left, right, and centre, it doesn't matter who's in the middle or who's going to be up the top, because it's going to be changing all the time. Basuma now obviously is still on 4. Because of his sending off. So he's got a chance that he's going to miss I don't know, another game. I wouldn't be surprised the next game he comes back in. If you're a betting person, you'd bet that Bissouma's going to get a yellow card just because of his discipline. And I think that's more that aside, as well as what you were saying about the striking options. I think those are the two things. If we can tidy that up a little bit, then we could be a little. It's going to be a lot better. But I don't know. Like you said, I don't know who our front three is. I mean, Son, and you could probably argue. I know Kate will argue Kulu, but then on that left-hand side, you could just throw them all up in the air and see which one lands first, and that would get them.
Barry, that's my worry, and I want to come to Jacob's point there, which is a valid point. Look, we've kind of pushed Sonny into the middle. I feel like we've pushed Sonny into the middle because we didn't have anybody else. But at the same time, I blame Ange and the club for that because you sold Harry Kane. I'm sorry. Let me start again before I get criticised. I was not against selling Harry Kane, but you sold him. They've all said they knew he was going. Harry Kane but Ange said that he knew from the first day he met Harry Kane that it was more than likely happening.
Yeah, but the thing is, sorry to cut you, my bro. When you got a player like Kane and you're Maddison or you're one of the wingers, you're constantly looking for Kane. You're constantly looking for him. And I remember you were saying Kane being out the team might improve the actual team. Do you know what I'm trying to say? So I think him missing made other players step up. Now, everybody knows that our front three is the weakness. You look at the back four, we said this already, strength, goalkeeper strength, midfield strength. I think even Ange knows in January, that's where he wants to strengthen. And I think especially on the left-hand side, because although Son hasn't been super consistent in that number 9 role, against Arsenal, you're seeing him drift across into the far post, finishing off his dinner. You're seeing him and other games, Burnley, he's got the brace. Do you know what I mean? You've seen him score goals. So Son compared to Richarlison is a better alternative than having Richarlison up front. We need to address that left-hand side. I think...
Yeah. I hear you, Ash, but my point was the club knew that Harry Kane was going, right? He said it, Levy said it, and Post-Kane have basically all said it, that they all knew he was going, right? Yeah. I think most fans that weren't fangirling all over Harry Kane knew that he was going, and there was a reason why Bayern kept bidding because Harry had said, yeah, I'm off. I just wonder, with that money, why we didn't go in for a forward. I'm really worried why we didn't do that. And then that is the only reason for me why I felt it was a little bit underwhelming. Nothing against Brennan Johnson, but it was like, you need a forward. Everyone was talking about Orban and, there's people being talked about now like Jonathan David and Santiago Jimenez. And you're looking at these forwards going, yeah, get a forward. Or get a goal-scoring wide forward that play
even
like
now, now
we didn't do anything.
I understand your point and your frustration, and I get it because most fans want a forward to replace Kane. You can't replace Kane, but you need a forward, a number 9. That's what most of the fans are saying. But I honestly believe that Ange didn't want a forward; he wanted a wing forward. That's what I honestly think, and I keep hearing it. Because I think if we are, it's not my opinion. I would love to. It just doesn't make sense to me. Why wouldn't we get a forward in? Why wouldn't we go for it? And even now in January, they're still squashing the rumors like, no, Valise is going to come in and he doesn't want a forward. He wants a winger, and he likes wingers that, if the game's stuck, he can bring on a different type of personality or a different type of profile winger to kind of change the game, as opposed to bringing on a striker to change the game. And I'm just looking at all the other teams and the way modern football are going. They love inverted wingers. I'm watching the Chelsea and Arsenal game, and I'm seeing Saka invert a lot more. Martinelli inverted a lot more, especially in that first half. I see them inverting. I didn't really see them hugging the touchline all the time and whipping balls into the box. I didn't really see Arsenal doing that type of football. Saka would like to come inside and try and shoot. Do you know what I mean? Even when they brought on Trossard wasn't really hugging that wing. He was kind of doing off the ball runs. I think that's where Arsenal were a little bit tired, where they didn't have a lot of movement off the ball because those strikers, they invert a lot, it was a bit predictable. And I do agree, that's been a problem for us this season. I wouldn't mind a number 9 and traditional wingers to hug it, but I just feel like Ange, whether we can critique Ange for this, like you were saying, we can get at him for this, because if you got traditional wingers that hug the touchline, you had a number 9 that finished his job, and that number 9 got 30 goals, then we wouldn't be having this debate right now. I honestly think
I agree. I think the thing for me, and I'll check this out, is I just feel like when you look at we signed 3 wide men, if we want to call them wide men, in the window, and I still look at all 3 of them and go, do you know what I mean?
The Kulu signing was before Ange was ever appointed. We confirmed that we spent that money on Kulusevski before. So I'm not convinced that Kulusevski is an Ange Postecoglou style winger, and maybe that's why he pushed it so much. Like, no, I need actual wingers, because Kulusevski is not to me, doesn't look like the kind of winger that that we really are looking for. But that again was a club buy. That was the club picking up the option before Ange had even came on board. So I don't know.
I'm pretty sure. Didn't he join after Ange joined?
I say, if I had to put a number on it, about 85 to 90% sure that Kulusevski's option was picked up as soon as the season ended, and we were managerless at that point. Because I remember at the time being upset at, like, why are we signing him? Why are we picking up his option? Because if our next manager comes in and doesn't want him, that's just what we did to Conte, purchasing players that he didn't necessarily want. So I remember that. So maybe I'm wrong on my date, but that's at least how I remember it.
Anyone else? I mean, it is strange. We signed 3 wingers this window, like 3 wide men, if you're going to put Kulu in that bunch. And still, we're all sitting here right now, and no one seems to know what our best front 3 is.
I don't understand how everyone isn't screaming that we sold one of the best players in the world, and probably one of the very best, if not the best player to ever play for Tottenham Hotspur, and didn't replace him. And everyone said we'd be better without Kane. We're better without Kane. Goals are coming from all over the pitch, but we've got nothing up the front. We've got Sonny. Yes, I know we've got Sonny. And he's wonderful, but it's not enough. And everyone, like Ash was saying, Ange had Kyogo at Celtic, who scored 30, 40 goals. He had a focus man that didn't matter what block they played. He scored all the time. I don't see Sonny doing that. He hasn't got the consistency.
Low block in Scotland versus low block in England. What are we talking about?
Yeah, it's different. Yeah, it's different. But you could disregard the set Scottish League as much as you like.
I'm just saying, like, the talent levels. Cameron Carter-Vickers was one of their best was the best center back last year for Celtic. Cameron Carter-Vickers, who got 1 preseason game with us 3 years ago, who can't get a sniff in the first. That's the level you're talking about.
Royale, to be fair. No offense, Barry.
Whoa.
Why has Emerson got to catch a stray?
Why does everything need to come back to him?
My point is,
Kulu, shall we? Who's not a winger. Yeah, let's talk about Kulu, who can't beat his man down the line. He has to cut back and pass it back. Ooh.
We've left ourselves
on the right wing. That's all Kulu is.
We've left ourselves woefully short in front of goal. And everybody says, oh, well, you know, goals are going to come from all over the place. There's no evidence. Yeah, we've got all different goal scorers at the moment. But we've written out that.
There's no evidence, but you just stated a piece of evidence. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, but that's because we've ridden our luck. Let's be fair.
Okay. So let's make an excuse for it. We've ridden our luck now, and it's not that we created those goals because they came from all over the pitch. No, let's just disregard that.
So we have been lucky. That's the difference.
We have not been lucky. That is a false narrative.
Let's talk about that then. Because obviously, look, Kate's point is, look, we sold Harry Kane, one of the greatest players to ever play for the club, the greatest goal scorer. Not for me. Jimmy Greaves will always have that, but you know what I mean. And we replaced him with lots of wingers, right? We replaced him with lots of wingers, right? Of which only one of them starts, which is Kulu. The others just seem to be on a rotation for the left-hand side. None of them actually seem to ever get a game. The bigger issue for me is we've moved Sonny into the middle, which I think needed to happen. But to Jacob's point, do we see this now as a permanent thing, people? Is this going to be where we see Sonny every game? Or do you think there are going to be games where he has to go back to the left? Because I'll be honest, I'm going to get screamed at for this. I'm going to get screamed at for it, but sod it. Who cares? I don't know what he did to deserve winning Player of the Month. If I'm brutally honest, I don't think he was Player of the Month in any way, shape, or form. And this season, he's scored in 3 games. Right, he scored in 3 games. The rest of the games, I've not noticed him. And I know you'll have stat merchants like that guy in the top left with that wonderful, my top left, which is you, Jacob. And he's made 5 key passes and this and that. I don't care about all that, right? At the end of the day, I don't think he's been as good as everyone thinks. And especially, ladies and gents, when he comes up against that low block, he goes missing.
Exactly.
Does he stay in the middle? I'll start with you, Kate. Does he stay down the middle now forever? Or are there going to be occasions where he has to go back to the left? And if he goes back to the left, is he as good as he used to be on the left?
He can't stay in the middle all the time. We need to get a better option for the teams like Sheffield United and him move to the wing. I said to Jacob in chat, he did not deserve Player of the Month. And Jacob said, I'd never say a player in my team doesn't deserve Player of the Month, but he didn't deserve it. Ollie Watkins and Jared Bowen both had better months than Sonny.
I mean, who are we but casuals to say what someone else deserves in their profession? I don't know. But I would say if this man was awarded this award,
what does this mean?
that we're like, hey, I'm saying that about myself. I mean, I've worked in MLS, but I have not worked in the Premier League. So I would consider that as I'm a casual person. And I'm saying that like a civilian, right? Like if they're Sonny's and Postacoglu's are like the armed service. We are civilians. We are casuals. So I've never played or managed at a professional level. My point being is that I can't sit up here and say, look, you look at the month, what he did in October, not what he did in the season. What he did in October was get a brace versus the North London rival and also get a hat trick. Now, again, this was a little bit of one of those, the EAFC Player of the Month. It's for EAFC. It's a little bit like the Taylor Swift award. So while I can sit up here and defend Sonny till high heaven, that award is sometimes a popularity contest. It is one of those things where fans vote and that it dictates the outcome. Now, if you have 16 million people in a country, every 15 minutes voting Heung-min Son, he's going to win it. I don't think he's ever been nominated for Player of the Month and not win it. So I don't use that as an... Do
you think, Jacob, I don't want to hear any nonsense about a casual. We're all football fans here, right? Do you think Sonny was the best player in the Premier League for the month of September? I'll take that as a no. I'll take that as a firm no. Does anyone on this panel think Sonny, when you heard Sonny had won it, did anyone else go, oh?
You know
I definitely
what?
didn't do that. I definitely didn't do that. No matter who I think was the best, I didn't do that. I said, hell yeah, we ride. Propaganda gets to continue. And that's how I felt about it.
You know what it is? I think it's the I can't remember who Watkins scored against, by the way. So this is where
he scored a hat trick. So I've got it here. He ended the month. He scored the winner at Chelsea and a hat trick and an assist against Brighton that moved his team up to 5th in the table.
Right.
But did his team move to first in the table?
You could argue that Son's goals were more valuable to the team than what Watkins were. You could also argue that Jared Bowen he scored 3 goals in September. So I mean, look, you like Jacob said, right? It is like if any of those players, like let's just say we don't have anyone nominated for October, and one of those players comes out and goes, "Oh, Taylor Swift's my favorite artist," that player will win Player of the Month for October because genuinely, because I think someone did it. I heard this the other day, and I don't know who. Someone genuinely said this to win an award.
They did it for Jude Bellingham for Young Player of the Year. Yeah. They said Jude Bellingham was a Taylor Swift. They pulled out a tweet where he said, "I'm loving this Taylor Swift song," or whatever. Like he's a Swift fan. All Swifties go vote for him. He's up for an award, and it was like a 30-40%. Then it became like a 70-10%. It was insane. Yeah. So but he doesn't need Taylor Swift. He has BTS, which has, if I'm not mistaken, like double the numbers of Taylor Swift. So he doesn't even need her. But it is funny. I see what you mean, though. I just think, look. you get 5-6 goals in a month, that's automatically going to shoehorn you in that conversation for best player that month, regardless of like when it happened, who it happened, moving up in the table again. But if we want to talk about moving up in the table, whose goals helped him get first in the table? Who's first?
Jacob.
We did. Yeah.
I'm going to call you out on something
Okay, here we go.
You don't ever hesitate calling me out, so I'm calling you out.
I love it. That's because we
like box office. It's like box office now.
No, it's because I love Jacob. I love him to death. But
yeah.
That's how Alex starts off, Kate. He goes, I love that guy. Oh, he's talking absolute nonsense, and I'm gonna show him. I'm gonna bury him.
We was on a channel the other day. I'm not going to say what channel, and we had to choose our favourite 11, like our first 11 from the top 5 teams. And Jacob chose Son over Haaland.
Yeah.
Am I correct?
No, I put him in the forward conversation. That's what I did.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did. Y'all were trying to exclude him from an all 11. Y'all were trying to exclude him from an all 11 so far in the season, and that was just he has to be.
Sonny for me. Sonny for me all day, every day. I've got receipts.
Yeah, Sonny for me all day, every day. Yeah.
Over Haaland.
This is easy. Jacob. 10 players have been selected. Son and Haaland are left. Who are you choosing, mate, to make the 11th player?
Well, who's at the left? Who's in the front 3 would be my first question.
Matter,
before
mate,
I have
the
to.
choice is
It does matter. No, it does matter. This is the channel of context is crucial, or what is it? Consistency, context. You got the meme somewhere.
Hang on. Excuse me, Jacob. If you're going to come on and you're going to try and use my own catchphrase, can you get it right? All right.
There it is.
It's
context
and consistency, bitches. All right.
Yeah.
Now, let's be brutally honest. And I know I say this. There's 400 people. By the way, before I do say this, Jacob's right. It's been an hour and 9 minutes. I haven't asked for a single like. Smash the likes. We should be on 250, 300 likes. We've gone backwards by -2 subscribers throughout this show. We've got 400 people here. Everyone's been giving you good content, good chat. We've had no trolls in the chat. It's been very good. And we've gone backwards by 2. Please smash the subscribe button. The link is in the chat right here. I'm going to show you. The link is here. It's pinned. Everybody, we should be able to get another 10 or 15 right now rather than going backwards by 2. Listen, I'll start this off. Surely, if you're asking the question, anyone's asking a question, who are you having up front? Erling Haaland or Son? Surely there's no debate in the world by anyone that Son's going to be your guy, is there?
Well, what system are we playing exactly?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. What about the guy that's got 250 goals in his career by the age of 22?
To go back again to mudcate some more, let her continue, keep digging herself a hole. What I'm saying is, I voted Son into they were picking their attackers, and I was saying Son for me all day gets into the front 3. However you work
it now. Crap I smell. Oh, it's absolute BS. You're such a liar. It
I'm
was
just
based on the first 8 games. Haaland or Sonny, and you said Sonny all day, every day for me. I have got it clipped. Mister,
there's a difference between when you're speaking about something live, like we're doing, and then when someone chats it. So when someone chats, that could be to what you said 3 minutes ago. It could be what you said 30 seconds ago or 10 minutes ago. So to say a comment in the chat.
Right. I'm jumping in. I'm going to start. Hass, I'm coming to you first. By the way, yes, Perchy, the T-shirt range of context and consistency is available right now. £5 for a T-shirt with my face on. What more do you want? Even if you want to use it to wipe your ass, it's available. No, it's not. It's not available. It's not. Don't look for it anywhere. Hass, you've got 10 picked, right? 2 of these and 1 of these, Barry. 2 of these and 1 of these.
Get that on a T-shirt.
Get that on a T-shirt. Hass, you've picked your 11 and someone says to you, right, you can only pick Haaland or Son as your centre forward for the season. Who are you putting up front?
It's going to be Erling Haaland all day long, isn't it? Let's be honest. He's the young. Do you want me to elaborate?
Don't be afraid
on
to be
it?
different, Has.
Well, I'll come to you to elaborate in a minute. I just want to go round. I think I pick Erling Haaland all 8 days of the week. That tells you something. All 8 of them.
It was based on. first 8 games, to be fair, and they were all saying in chat, Sonny, Haaland's not very good this season. I said, he's top goal scorer. How can he not be good? Jacob was one of the
Don't conflate what I say with what other people in the chat says. That's absolutely bottom of the barrel digging. Come on now.
Hang on, guys. All right. Okay. Has has gone with. I'm going to put a poll in the chat as well. Has has gone with Haaland, I think. Yeah?
Yeah.
I went with Haaland. Ashmatic, who would you be going for, sir?
We'll go with Haaland. Look your face. Haaland. You know what it is?
Friend.
I don't even know what we're having a debate about this because this is mad. It's real mad. Like, really, the players behind Son, the players behind Haaland is 2 different teams. And even still, Son didn't start as a striker. I think he's come in and he's done a job. And I think he's doing that job well, to be fair. I don't know what what would have been different if he started against Brentford, if he would have played a little bit different up front, if he started against Brentford or Manchester United, because he wasn't the number 9 there. But still, there's no debate. There's no debate, in my opinion, respectfully.
Barry?
Why are we not talking about Richarlison in this conversation? I'm sorry, Jacob. I love you, man, but it's got to be Haaland. Sorry, man. Sorry.
Jacob. I can't believe that. Come on. Give me your honest answer. Who are you going for?
I mean, call it whatever y'all want to call it. I don't care. I'm picking my road dog, the man that held me down when the man who was supposed to be my talisman let me down. I'm taking the man who's captaining the side that is now top of the league. I don't care about yesterday's results. Before the weekend, anyway, we were top of the league. I'm saying I'm taking my man's Son. I'm not afraid to pick the odd choice. Call it whatever you want. Bias, delusion, emotions. I don't care. I'm taking Heung-min Dad all day. Book it. Last 10 players picked, 1 person to pick out of the 2. I'm taking Son. I'm standing by my man. For good or for worse.
Kate, I don't need to come to you. I know your answer. Well, that was good. I think we all knew that was going to happen, right? We knew it was going to be 5 versus 1, and we knew it was going to be Jacob who was the one.
It's not a flip-flop.
Jay, he's not. It is funny.
Yeah, he's not a flip-flop like you, Sava.
Oh, I don't know where this flip-flop tags come from. Like I'm Danny Kiriakou or something. I don't know what's going on.
It's come from the YouTube Slayer, mate. It's come from the YouTube Slayer. And that's all that matters. When the YouTube Slayer speaks, that's it, mate.
So I'm going to ask a question then. So if Spurs dip back into the market for a forward player, now this doesn't have to be a centre forward, it could be a wide man. What sort of player do you expect to see come in next? Because my worry is that, again, it won't be a centre forward. And I think this is going to be the difference between us achieving something or not. Bless me. Only my opinion.
Bless you.
Thank you. Only my opinion. Anyone? Who do we think what sort of player do you think he's going to go for next?
He's definitely going for a winger. This is what I said from the start. I said
another one.
Fans want, he's going for. Listen, we've lost Perisic, and also we've got an injury to Solomon. So that left-hand side is questionable. And I think that Johnson only got on the left because we had those injuries. I think that's why he went on the left, personally. And I feel like we've been linked with wingers in the transfer window. From what I've seen so far, we've been linked with wingers. Centre forwards, I heard a statement saying, forget about centre forwards. We're not looking at centre forwards. Ange wants wingers. I know it's not to everyone's taste and that people might be disappointed, but it's not me. I'm not head of scouting. I'm not doing it. I mean, I wouldn't mind a Tony because I think an Ivan Toney can hold up the play, he can bring other players in, players can run in behind him. He's a box striker, he's clinical. I think he needs that move. But whether they think his personality suits the club or whether he thinks, that type of striker is right. Because if you get a striker, that means you drop Sonny's, you drop Jacob's guy, Sonny comes out at the 9. That means Sonny has to either go left wing. He has to go left wing, and then he has to perform at left wing. But we all know he hasn't got pace like that as a winger. Do you know what I mean? So you'd have to see a different skill set from Son in that. We saw him under Conte on the left-hand side. I don't think he was an out-and-out left winger. I thought he kind of inverted a lot more. but I expect to see the same from him in that position. But I just don't think we're going for a centre forward, in my opinion. I can't see it.
I think you're right, Ash. I don't think we go for a centre forward until the summer.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And I think that's going to affect our standing moving forward. I honestly do. I think points wise, I'm looking at 4th. And I think, like you said at the start, Sava, Aston Villa, we need to be bridging the gap between them and us, if I'm being totally honest. I think if we're trying to get Champions League, and I think that's what the club wants, then I think that vital piece at the top, that needs to be addressed, because that's going to win you the games. If you're not clinical in those games where you need to be beating your Fulhams, you need to be beating your Crystal Palaces, and they're sitting deep, we're getting chances, but we're not finishing them for whatever reason, that could be the difference. Those draws almost count like losses. And that's when you start to see teams pull away from maybe the 6th, the 5th, or the 7th or 8th position compared to the top 4. They start breaking away. Around
also, Ash, who is there? Who is there really that we're going to... All this talk about Tony, he's going Arsenal or Chelsea. He's not coming to us.
Of course.
Right? He's going to Arsenal or Chelsea. So who is there at this moment that is a number 9 that is banging goals in that is going to come to Spurs? Because I can't think of anyone.
Santiago Jimenez.
But I don't think they'll go for him.
I just wanted to say there's still 2 months, just over 2 months until the transfer window opens again. The whole complexion of what we need or what we don't need will change again by that time. We don't know.
100%.
Okay,
100%.
we might have a defender out for a long while. I hope it's not the case. We might be in the market. It all depends on what the priority is at the time. So if we get to January and we've got a major injury to one of our defenders, that has to be the priority. Okay. I just think in terms of a striker, again, like Brian Hill is coming back. We haven't seen him play under Ange yet. Maybe Ange has got plans for him. I've not been inspired from what I've seen from Brian Hill as yet. I'm not saying he should be a replacement for anyone, but he might come in, might do well under Ange. I think under the right circumstances, maybe come on as a substitute. He should give him a go, see what happens. But if he's not the answer, then certainly he'll look for another sort of wide forward, maybe. But for me, it has to be a wide forward because we need someone who can score goals, not just a winger. Who have we got? Who is there out there that can play in that style? I don't know. There must be a few players in that mold, but for me, I think that's why Brennan Johnson was brought in as a sort of wide forward, someone who can play on the wing but come inside and score goals.
Or does Ange go and raid Celtic and go and get Kyogo?
Well, you say Celtic, but this Jota guy. Is he a free agent at the moment? Has he left the club that he plays for in Saudi Arabia? Because I think it just makes sense if he is a free agent, or if there's going to be a small fee to bring him in, because he's played under Ange Postecoglou before, and also he plays for the Portuguese national team as well, despite playing in the Scottish League before and now playing in Saudi Arabia. So he has got talent, but like I said, I think we need to revisit this question in about a month or 2 again, and then the outlook could be different. At the moment, we've got what we've got, and we have to use what we've got until January.
I think
what else we do, guys?
We'll know after that another international break what we need for
exactly. And when the international breaks come along, it's like we're walking the tightrope. We're like, oh God, I hope he doesn't get an injury. All Romero's apparently got, Sonny, it's just a worry every time. If we had a squad with depth like Man City, like Liverpool or anyone else, we wouldn't be as worried because we'd be like, all right, cool. If he's gone over there, he's got an injury, we've got someone else that can come in. Not a problem at all. Our first 11's our squad is paper thin at the moment. First 11, brilliant. The players that play for the second string, not so good. So 100%. I just think the squad is still in development, like Ange said. They're still learning the system, believe it or not, despite how we're playing and where our position is. They're still learning the system. So, it's all step by step, baby steps. Let's not try and run before we can walk. You know, at the moment we're doing well, but things do change quick in football. You know, 2 weeks' time, we could be sitting here discussing something totally different. We could be discussing, you know, the keeper's been injured as a, you know, example.
Yeah. Has, do you know what? I think you make a good point there. Football does change very, very quickly. And if you just take a look at a few of the teams, I mean, you know, Man City, everyone's talking about they're not as good as they were. They're now sitting top of the table, as always. For a team that aren't as good as they were, for a team that normally does brilliant in the second half of the season, they're top, right? You've got Newcastle. Everyone 3 or 4 weeks ago was talking about, Eddie Howe last year was lucky. They've lost 2 or 3 games. Sack him. Now they're battering everyone and slowly but surely working up that table. You look at Man United. They've won a couple of games. They're straight back up there in terms of touching upon the Champions League places. Chelsea, they've managed to turn it around. Liverpool apparently were meant to be dead. Now look at Liverpool. They're flying, right? Let's be fair. The only game they've lost this season was us, right? And then the biggest example of all of them is Aston Villa. Aston Villa started the season. Everyone's sitting there saying they've got Europe. They're going to struggle. They got battered by, I think it was Brighton or whoever. They're battering teams now. They're putting in 4s and 5s and 6s, and they're winning games right up there. So you're right. 3 games, everything can change. And I think you're absolutely spot on. We need to see.
Sorry, can I just? I was going to say this bit and I forgot earlier on. I was going to give Manchester City as an example. Rodri was out for 3 games. Guess what? Manchester City lost all 3 games when he was out. When Rodri was out,
they only lost 2 games. I thought.
No, I think it was 3 plus the league.
They lost Wolves. They lost Arsenal. That was it.
I think it was when in Europe as well, or one of the cup games they lost.
Oh, you might be right.
Carabao Cup,
yeah, Carabao Cup. So they lost 3 games.
They're out the Carabao Cup.
Newcastle beat them.
So they lost.
I didn't know that. You're right. Then has 3 games.
They lost the 3 games that Rodri was out. Now, people might say, "Why am I mentioning this?" Right, tomorrow is going to be our biggest test. We've got Bissouma out. If I'm trying to equate both of them, yeah. So tomorrow's the biggest test. We've got Bissouma out. How are we going to respond to that? How is the team going to respond to that? You know, because he's such a pivotal player, like Rodri, pivotal player. You know, he brings that defensive qualities to the team, but also he can get forward and he can get absolutely amazing goals. So, you know, tomorrow is a massive test for us. Massive test. How do we cope with that Bissouma? And can the person who comes in do a good enough job to cover him? Albeit he's out for 1 game, but it's going to be like a dress rehearsal for when it happens again next time, because inevitably he's going to get another yellow card next game, isn't he? Let's be honest.
Look, I think it's one of those things that we are lucky enough to have known this since as soon as he left the pitch with a red card, we knew that this was the circumstances. So we've had since then till tomorrow morning to sort it out. And I would trust that what we have done, the foundational work that we've laid thus far, I think that we will be able to cope with it. I'm excited. It will be a challenge, as I agree with you. It absolutely will be a challenge, but that's what I'm excited to see next with this team is the next challenge. What do we look like now that you take our Bissouma out? Okay, how do we look when you take out our... These are questions that have to get answered, and they only get answered in 90 minutes of football with whenever... That's the nature of the beast. And while I'm reluctant to want to go there, uncomfortability breeds growth. So I think that this could be a good thing for us. Let me ask you,
Jacob, is Bissouma missing anywhere near, and I'll go around to everyone. Is Bissouma missing the biggest miss of all the players? So I'm going to ask a really difficult question. If there was one player you don't want to see missing from this team that changes the complex of the team, who is it? I'll go around the circle. I'll start. I'll come around to you. I'll go around to Hass and I'll go anti-clockwise because no one normally does go anti-clockwise, do they? I'll go around. I'm going to say that as much as I'm worried about when one of our centre-halves gets injured, I am so worried about James Maddison not being in this football team. I feel like all of this play is James Maddison. Now, I'm going to say something that's really unpopular here, and it kind of alludes a little bit to what Barry said earlier, but I'll just take it that one step further. I don't actually think we've played that well. Everyone keeps talking about, oh my God, Ange Ball, and you can see the title of my show is Ange Ball is back. A little bit. I don't think we've been that good. I don't think we've been that great in the way we play. Everyone talking like we're this free-flowing football team. I think we're a good team that rely on James Maddison to dig us out of holes. He did it against Liverpool, right? He did it against Arsenal twice, right? And
did it against Luton.
He did it against Luton, right? This is the guy for me that makes things happen. Take him out this team. I think we go back to being a very, very, very ordinary football team. So I'm going to go with James Maddison. Haas?
And Sava, before you asked me, I was going to say the same thing as well. James Maddison, purely because, we don't have anyone like him at the club at the moment, anywhere near his creative qualities. Players like Bissouma, we can sort of replace with adequate players that can sort of do a similar role, but not as good. But James Maddison, there's no one like him. And I think without him, you lose all the creativity out of this team. Like, there is no creativity in this team apart from James Maddison, for me.
Yeah, Kate, who are you going with?
Oh my God, I could give you about 5, but I'm going to go with Vicario because I think the step down from Vicario to Forster and even Lloris is just phenomenal. So Maddison, I get, but you have got players like possibly Lo Celso, Gill. We haven't seen enough of them. Johnson might be able to step in, but I just don't see.
Can I ask then? I'm going to ask then. If the fact is that we've never seen them do what you're talking about, we need them to do. Where would any of that hope come from? Like
there isn't any hope.
Celso for 4 years. Every time I watch this man, he disappoints me. Like everyone was getting like semis for this guy during pre-season because he played 45 minutes of good football against like the Lions City Sailors. I can't see that he's fit to lace Maddison's boots, let alone come in and...
Nor me, but then how do you replace a keeper that has been as good as Vicario with Forster, who is absolutely diabolical, and Lloris, who is coming to the end of his career? So I can see it from both ways. Plus, we've got Bentancur still to come back. So for me, it's Vicario. I think he goes under the radar for how much he's changed the confidence at the back because of how good he's been between the sticks.
Okay, all right. So 2 Maddisons, a Vicario, Jacob. I know your answer. Who's the main man that if we lose this person, this is the biggest miss?
Well, like Kate said, there's a handful, right? We could pick from. I would say, my heart is pulling. My heart is being Youngman's dad. If Youngman's son is. Well, I was going to say either one of the center backs for me, because it doesn't matter left side, right side, Van de Ven or Romero. Either one of them, I think they're equally as valuable at this juncture because they are what's preventing Eric Dyer from hitting the pitch. And the longer we can go keeping that man off the pitch, I think is crucial. So not only... I almost want to say Ashley Phillips is crucial because Ashley Phillips being fit helps keep Eric Dyer off the bench. And that's just another buffering that we've got between him and the first team. That's my personal side. But also, I'm just going to throw, if you take Son out, who's going to be scoring those goals? Because you need a finisher in the box to receive the ball and finish. The key word there, and finish. Richarlison's received the ball, then first touch is here, first touch is there. I don't know that we have anyone in the box that can finish in the way that Son finishes. So I would argue that is also one of the areas. While we're just covering the whole spread here, Son as well, I think is a crucial miss if he does go out.
Okay, can I just ask, did we get an actual answer though? Like, was there? I know you've gone through the centre halves, the centre mids, the forward line. Who's your what? Who's the one?
I'm gonna say Kuti. I say you take him. I say you take him out of that back four, and everything starts to fall apart. That's what I think. I think he's the anchor that holds everyone together.
I think it's Van de Ven you'll find that has held that all together. But we'll have that debate in a minute. Barry, so we've got 2 Maddisons, we've got a Vicario, a Romero. Who are you going for?
Jacob's gone with the wrong centre back. It's Mickey van der Ven. I'm sorry if he comes out of that team. Not only have you got the prospect of Ben Davis there on the left-hand side, you've also got Romero going back into his craziness, flying into tackles, not being calm, not having someone around him. Because look, as much as I will big up my boy Emerson, Porro is not a great defender, right? And if he's going to have Porro on one side, Davis on the other, and by this point, a doggy's probably got his 5th suspension. So are we saying Sessegnon on the left-hand side? So for me, the way that Mickey van der Ven has come in and has, not only for his pace, but the way that the maturity that he's shown and what he's got, in terms of what he's done with that partnership and turned Romero into Romero that we know and love. I think that's a key. I think you could probably argue, defense Van der Ven, Maddison in midfield, and Son up front. If those three, something happened, we would be in a lot of trouble. So,
but the one you're going for is Mickey.
Yeah, Van der Ven. Van der Ven.
Okay. Ash, we've got 2 Maddisons, a Vicario, a Romero, which I could have put my mortgage on, Jacob saying that, a Mickey van der Ven. Who are you going for?
I'm going to go with a clean sweep at the bottom 3 of a Maddison. But I do hear the Mickey because without his pace, without his recovery, you wouldn't see us pushed up so high up.
Yep.
You would get caught out a lot of the times. I think a lot of the times his recovery pace has helped us out, and he's allowed Romero to feel safe, like he's got a safe home, a buddy to rely on, someone he can lean on me when I'm not there. You know the song. But yeah, basically, I think James Maddison for me. Sorry about that singing. James Maddison is key. Maddison is key. He is the brain, the hub. He sees the picture before it's painted. He is Raphael, Michelangelo, Leonardo. He's all of them together. He's an artist. I think not just high up the pitch, not just on the wing, not just in midfield, but at times in the box. His presence alone just scares teams. When you see Maddison coming out, everyone's scared. And I feel like I do agree, with what Kate was saying in terms of you've got Bentancur, but he's not quite fit yet. And if Bentancur was fit, it'll be a different conversation. And like you guys were saying before, Gio, for me, he did impress me against Barcelona. He has done it in the Liga. He has done it for Argentina, but I'm yet to see him do it in a Spurs shirt where it matters, competitive match. And from when that has to be answered for me, when I see him play a full 90 minutes in a Spurs shirt and do what we know we can do, then maybe my rhetoric might change. But before this, I would have said Basuma, but we will find out. We will see what Højbjerg does. And if we fall short, then it might have to be Basuma. But my one is Maddison at the moment for the reasons what I pointed out.
For this guy saying Ange's all about the team game, there is no main man. Yeah, Ange isn't a maverick in that. Like most teams that do well in the world are a team. You look at Man City, they're a team, right? You look at all the good teams down the years, they're teams. It's just a question of who would you least want to see missing. And look, I'll be honest with my brothers down the bottom here. Every time Maddison gets a knock in a game, I go, oh my God, I'm really, really worried. I really, really worry. Look, we're just going to go for another 10 minutes. Before we do that, guys and girls, we haven't had a single subscriber for the entire show. There's 400 people in here. Unbelievable. Look, there's 6 people here giving up their Sunday night for you. We haven't had a single subscriber, so please do smash that subscribe button. It really is appreciated. And also on the vote that we did, the poll, 130 people have voted, and Son got 48% of the vote.
Get in.
which can only tell me that biased football fans. I want to have this talk. Lots of Spurs fans have been making videos, having discussions, debates across Facebook and Twitter and all these different wonderful platforms, whatever they're called these days, about our centre-back pairing, obviously of Romero and Van de Ven. And I think Van de Ven's come in and done amazingly. I think, 22, young, different country, come in and just been absolutely superb. Did anyone think that he would come in and be that guy so quickly? Like, we were all talking about, we need a senior head to play alongside Romero to calm him down, to settle him. But it's a younger head that's come in and made that possible. Did anyone think that would happen so quick?
I'll take this one first if you don't mind. I didn't think it would, honestly. And Mickey Van de Ven was a guy that I think on one of your 24-hour streams on a bunch of different other big channels, I said in January, we need a left-sided center back for this system. Mickey Van de Ven's the perfect fit for me. Ash, I think you remember me talking to you about him in January. There's also a few commenters that remember me shouting him out in January. I watched a lot of Bundesliga last year, and he's just was one of those, like what you said about that you wanted to see from Romero, Sava. I know he just left, but last year he said he wants to see him stand out amongst the draws, right? If I'm using the excuse that he's playing with Dyer, Davies, etc., Romero should then step up and then be something that just kind of flies off the page at you. And Mickey Van de Ven was doing that for an okay Wolfsburg side. And I thought that he completely flew off the page to me. I just never thought it would be this quick. I did think that you bring in a suitable partner that someone Romero can actually trust, that you will see the best of Romero. Because again, when he came in, I think for his first season, he does the trust level, the level of Dyer, etc. I don't really think it matters because he was just going out there playing to play and show us who he was. Then the second season, you're starting to build that partnership. You're trying to build some connection here, and then you start really realizing when I'm in the thick of it, I can't trust this guy. So then things deteriorate over time that way, and he had an awful season last year. Now I think with Mickey Van de Ven, like I agree, and I kind of prefaced before I picked Romero why I think both of those positions are just. Either one of them go out and you have a legitimate problem. But I would rather, it's a question, would you rather see Mickey Van de Ven next to Eric Dyer or Romero next to Dyer? And I don't know. Maybe Van de Ven next to Dyer would be better than what we saw last season. That could totally be true. But I just think that we are one injury away at that position to really having a huge problem on our hands. But to answer the question, Sava, no, I didn't think he would this quickly be that guy to not only come in and just he had 3 days of training before he had his first Premier League start, and then he goes against the likes of Buhu Saka and then the world-class winger of Mohamed Salah. So at the same time, like, this guy got thrown into the deep end with some sharks and was told to swim, and he's doing laps, breaststrokes, backstrokes, all the strokes. And now he's looking like Michael Phelps. So long may it continue. And such a good-looking young chap as well. I'm sure all the ladies are lining up to be Mrs. Van de Ven.
Kate, are all the ladies lining up to be Mrs. Van de Ven?
Yeah, I think so. He could breaststroke me anytime he likes.
Christ, unbelievable. Unbelievable. In the last 5 minutes of the show, we've got all the way through without lowering the tone. And then she dropped that in. I mean, just quickly, I only want to go for another 5 minutes. So, Kate, I mean, Mickey Van de Ven, he really does play with the assurance of someone much older than 22, doesn't he?
Yeah, and his partnership with Romero looks like it's been going for years. I mean, I did say I thought he'd calm Romero down. I've said it before, and people said to me, how can he possibly calm him down? He's younger, but he has. But I also think credit has to go to Ange as well, because I think since Romero's been given the vice captaincy, he has stepped up a bit. But Van de Ven's he's like a Rolls Royce. He's just walked into this team, taking it all in his stride. He looks confident, assured, doesn't make stupid sliding tackles. You know, he's fantastic. I think we're so lucky to have him, and I hope we can hold on to him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Haas, Mickey Van de Ven, H here has said Van de Ven has the comfort of having Destiny Udogie next to him.
H.
I mean, what do you make of that?
What of this question below?
No, just in general. Like, obviously he's come in, he's had Destiny a doggy, but at what point? Let me spin the question then, Has. At what point though are we going to actually make players accountable for their own form? Like, I keep hearing this loads about, oh yeah, but so and so plays with so and so, so and so plays with so and so. Top players are top players. Like, you do it right. Like, we can't say Van der Ven's look good because he's nicked the Destiny. He's just been good, hasn't he?
Well, maybe the doggies look good because of Van der Ven then.
Oh, yeah.
But look,
I
I just think, look, there's a lot of things going for him. He's a young lad. He's come from a different league, different language, different system, and he's held his own. He's slotted into that, key area for us, like, seamlessly, next to, like, alongside someone who we thought was really rash, someone who was, really unpredictable, and he's formed a great partnership so far with Romero. And as a result, Romero seems to have calmed down, and his rashness doesn't appear to be there this season like last season. So he's not only come in and done well for himself, but I think he's also influenced others around him as well, which is remarkable in the space of 7, 8 games is remarkable. But yeah, I just think he's shown so many different qualities. His speed we all knew about, but let's not forget, we was all talking about the other guy coming in, Tapsoba. We was all saying, yeah, we need to get Tapsoba in. He's more experienced. He's more this, more that. Van der Ven is still young. But look, young players have come into this team, Udogie and everyone else, and they've proved that, they can, fit in and play under what Ange is trying to do. So, yeah, I think he's done well. And for me, I think his fee for what we've paid for him, I think is remarkable bit of business, to be honest with you. And now it's seeming like, Van der Ven was the better choice out of the two. So yeah, long may that continue.
Ash, what do you make of those two? I mean, some people are saying they've been the best partnership in the league so far. I don't go that far. I think they've been good. I do think they give up a lot of chances, but I also think that that's to be expected of two players that have only played together for 8 games. What do you make of their partnership?
I think it's the system. I think the system's got a lot to do with it, because before we were playing a lot deeper. Obviously, Mickey Van der Ven wasn't there, but imagine Mickey Van der Ven in a low block or mid-low block.
Right.
We're going to invite a lot more pressure, a lot more shots on. The team's going to be set up differently. I think players in front of him help to protect the chances we concede as well. The fact that we have more possession changes it. The fact that we're able to defend higher up the pitch changes a lot of things. I think the two of them by themselves are rubbed off on each other in a positive way. One's a lot more calmer, which has made the other one calmer. One's a lot more aggressive, which has made the other one more aggressive. And I feel like their styles complement each other. When one presses, one drops off, and vice versa. And I think having that role for Romero, having that responsibility to kind of be like that leadership and having to show the new guy around the ropes has helped him, because now all of a sudden you are in charge and you are responsible for this back line. Do you know what I mean? You need to talk to Vicario as well as Van der Ven. You need to communicate to your fullbacks. Do you know what I'm saying? So I think that's got a lot to do with Mickey Van der Ven. If I'm not going to talk about the stats, it's just from what I've seen. Obviously, Mickey Van der Ven, recovery-wise, is number 1. But in terms of like not going to ground, Romero doesn't go to ground that often if you actually deep it. Like before, Romero was reckless and was going to ground. But now, in this season, from what I've seen, he stands up a lot of the time. Do you know what I mean? And even in the air, I see Romero is dominant in the air a lot more. He's winning the headers, he's winning his duels. So I think that's got to be spoken about. That's got to be considered into as well. But yeah, going back to your question, I think Mickey Van der Ven has been a breath of fresh air, something that we've needed to address for many a season. Do you know what I mean? A long time we've had Ben Davies as a left-sided centre-back, and we knew we need to address that situation. And I think now Mickey Van der Ven's come in, we've got years ahead of us. If you think Van der Ven's 22, how old is Romero? I forget how old he is.
20. He just turned 26, the beautiful 26. Beast.
Oh,
He just turned 26. But I'm just saying, in terms of like your peak as a centre back, do you know what I'm trying to say?
Bro, Thiago Silva's still balling now, and he's damn near 40.
So I just feel like they're
12
gonna
years of Romero.
go as a pair like fine wine, and I like the recruitment process that we're buying young players. I think it's like a maximum of 26. I think maybe 24. The players that we get in, and I feel like this team's gonna grow together. But going back to that centre back pairing, I envision maybe in the next 2 or 3 years we're gonna see a hell of a.
He just turned 25. I have a correct one. He just turned 25, so he's even younger. He's just entering his prime.
Okay, so now you can see that centre back pairing is going to have years and years and years of getting used to each other because it's only the first 8 games. Sorry, sir.
No, you're right. I was going to say, Barry, I was going to come to you to close off the show, but I've got a feeling my next question won't close off the show, but I'll ask it anyway, Barry. I don't disagree with Ash. They're young. It gives them a chance to have years and years and years to flourish. However, we've seen this before in football, Barry. If you don't win things, players don't stick around. And if we keep telling everybody in the world, that he's the best goalkeeper, he's the best left back, he's the best centre back, he's the best partnership, people buy them. So how long, I don't want to put a negative spin on it, but this happened before under Poch. We did so well, then the players started to get bought. We've had this before with Bale, with Modric. How do we ensure that this doesn't happen again, Barry? That we don't get to the summer and someone goes, there's 80 million for Christian Romero to go and join Real Madrid, Barcelona. How do we stop these things happening?
Well,
I go protest. That's what I'll do.
I mean, ultimately, you can't, right? But I guess history also tells us that when clubs come in for players like an Eric Dyer to Man United or a Dele Alli in their prime, that we don't actually sell them and they go the other way, right? So, look, is that the history you're taking? I mean, are you really? No, I'm trying to flip it back a little bit, Sava. But look, I think you're right. Look, if obviously in terms of where we were, I guess if we're talking, we're obviously going to make comparisons with Toby and Jan. Obviously they were towards the end when they were getting kind of, that partnership was solid, right? So not the end, but they're a lot older than what Van der Ven and Romero are now. Look, it's a real worry because actually if Romero, Van der Ven, and a Doji as well. I mean, look, you probably got 2 or 3 years more, but if all of a sudden, we even if we go and win something, right? Let's say we go and win something in the next 3 years. The potential is that someone's going to come in and drop a lot of money on the table, and then it's going to be then the sort of. It's all going to come crashing down again. But while we've got them, let's just keep saying they're the best and hope that no one's listening.
I wasn't trying to throw a can of worms. I'm just, as a Spurs fan, I've seen this loads of times before. I keep my feet on my ground. I've seen it so many times before.
It depends on the academy. It depends on what we do with the academy and our recruitment going forward from here. That's where it depends on. But as fans and as YouTubers, we have the responsibility to throw these questions out. And I'm just going to throw one out. I know the show's done, but I'm just going to, because it's going to come up, I feel. And I just feel like, what does Ange being backed look like? What does that mean? Because for every different fan, it's going to mean something different, especially when it comes to the end of January. And you might not get the player that
you can do a whole show on this, Ashmatic. You can do a whole show on that.
I'm just throwing it out from now, just to say, because people's expectation right now, centre forward, centre back, are we going to get those players? And that's what I wanted to say. I was going to end on that.
No, listen, do you know what? I think you're right, Ash. And the whole what is being back thing has been around for years, right? And for me, I'll tell you what I have noticed, and this is bearing in mind someone who is Levy out. I always feel that Ange being backed is replace Ange with Spurs manager, right? When a player works out, they've been backed. When the player doesn't work out, they've not been backed. And I can't stand this narrative. You know, if you look at Antonio Conte, right? When Kulu, Bentancur, for example, did well, it was he's been backed with the players he wants. Anyone who didn't do well, it was they didn't back Conte. And you're like, hang on. We can't, you can't apply this. They're either backed or they're not, right? You can't have, well, he was backed a little bit. He was back with these players. And that's what I get a feeling will happen. Is any player that comes in and hits the ground running, Van de Ven, he's been backed. Vicario, backed. Yeah, not a doggy because he was already here. Maddison, backed. You watch the next player who brings it. Touch wood, they all work. You watch the next player who brings in maybe a centre forward who doesn't hit 15, 20 goals in his first season. Nah, he was a club signing. He was a Levy signing.
Like Richarlison.
Can I just ask?
Where I am with that argument.
Can I just ask? Has Ten Hag been backed? And I'm gonna give you an example. Has Ten Hag been backed?
Well, if we're led to believe that they're his first choice players, has.
Right. Okay. So from looking at it from the outside, right, it seems like he has been backed because of the plethora of players that they've brought in, right? But where are they now? Just putting it out there. Just putting it out there. That's all.
No, I agree with you, and I think Barry's right. Listen, I'm going to end the show in the next 2 minutes, but we could do an entire show on this, and I'm sure we will. But for me, I always find it funny how we all presume to know who was the number one choice and who wasn't. Like, for example, I'm presuming, like, I'll sit here and go, "You're not telling me that Ange Postecoglou asked, who's your number one forward target?" And he scoured the world of football and gone, you know what? Brennan Johnson. I fail to believe it. But if Brennan Johnson comes good, it will be, there you go, number one target. If Brennan Johnson flops hard, it will be, well, we bought cheap players, or we bought poor players for it. So it's always a difficult one.
I want to push back a little bit there because we talked about it briefly at the beginning of the show, Sava, that was Brennan Johnson truly a number one Ange prospect? Look, it came out and he said the same, that it was. That if we're to believe what information gets leaked by the Paul O'Keefes of the world, then to me, that it was. Now, I don't think he scoured the world. I think he said, this is the kind of profile I want. The club said, this is kind of the budget we have. And then they met in the middle, and that's why it takes some time. And we landed on Brennan Johnson. Well, I guess for the price, and I mean, he does help the homegrown quota as well if we're trying to get rid of one of them.
But the thing, listen, I get it, right? But if we're going to play this game where we believe everything a manager tells us, right? If we're gonna play that game, let's be fair. He's just brought in the player. It's the last day of the window, and he's asked, and he's like, "Yeah, this is my number one target." I would expect my manager to do that. I wouldn't expect the manager to turn around and go, "To be fair, there were 3 or 4 targets we had above Brennan Johnson that we couldn't get, so we went for Brennan Johnson." And my question to you, Jacob, is: if he was the number one target, right? If he was the number one target of the players that we could get, why on earth did it take until 11 p.m. when the deadline shuts at 11 p.m. to get this bloke in? If he's your number one target, why is he not in pre-season starting the first game of the season?
Pedro Porro was our number one target in January. I know it's 2 different windows, but he was our number one target. It took an entire month to get that deal done. That's just how the people who sign the contracts operate. That's what I'm convinced that it is the level of the way that we operate in our bargaining of maybe it's a back and forth. I'm not privy to those conversations, but my assumption would be, how do we operate in the past before Ange, and now how are we operating with Ange? And it was the same idea, which is, there's this deal that we've kind of a couple days before the deadline talked about, and now the deadline is when we're really trying to get it done. Pedro Porro was our target from January 1st, and we got him done January 31st.
So back to Ash's question then. If that is the case, and we are waiting until the last day of windows, I'll use both examples you've given me there. Is that backing a manager? Because one, if Pedro Porro is your number one target, why would you go through the whole of January without him? Because how many games are in January? And if Brennan Johnson's your number one target, why would you go through all of pre-season training camp, 2 or 3 Premier League games, then bring him in? This is why, for me, it doesn't make sense that these are the number one signings. For me, I think these are the signings that the club would get over the line, because I'm going to, maybe not the Porro one, but Brennan Johnson for me seems, sorry, people are going to go at me, seems easy, isn't it? It's a young player from a team that aren't going anywhere, buy 15 players a window, so would be quite happy with money coming back the other way. It seemed quite a nice deal to do, no?
Yeah, I think it is a little bit of the convenience. Again, who can we get for X amount? I think he was a little bit overpriced, that we spent a little bit extra just to get that deal over the line. So again, not saying that Conte Postecoglou's like misleading us by saying this is my number one target. Look, he could be the number one target for a number of reasons: the player profile, the price tag, or an accumulative of those plus some additives. That could be exactly. The club is always looking for a bargain, and I guarantee the reason why it took so long to get Brennan Johnson over the line is because we were trying to get that price down as much as we could. And to be fair, again, like I think it's a little expensive.
I'll ask again then. Is that backing the manager? If backing the manager means playing hardball on a couple of £1 million here and there, is that backing the manager, or is backing the manager going, who do you need? Bang. Now, I'll tell you what I mean by that. I'll tell you what I mean by that. Just really quickly, Haz. Just really quickly. I'll tell you what I mean by that. Right? Mickey van der Ven, right? If this was your number one choice, don't take 7 weeks to get it done. Just go and get it done. And this is the difference between us and other clubs. This is why I don't know. Like, this is why the whole
I agree
question is so up in the air for me.
And that's why I think it varies from club to club as well. Sorry, Haz. I just think it varies like how a club backs a manager, and how we've seen Tottenham back a manager is it goes a long time. They try and budget. Let's save 500K here. Let's save $1 million there. And that does delay the process. But I think Ange Postecoglou knew that coming in, that there's a lot of things up in the air. He came in, Kane, is he staying? Is he going? We need this, we need that. And he came in knowing that we weren't immediately just going to go, here's $100 million at the problem like a Man United did with Anthony. No, this is a let's slowly ease into. And so as far as backing Postecoglou,
But we did. We did. We spent like £160 million.
But not on one player. That's my point. That's the difference I'm saying. Is like United, Chelsea, these others, they dropped that kind of cash on one player to fix a specific problem. Whereas I think we put a blanket and we covered goalkeeper, we covered center back, we got a creative 10, we got another winger, and then we solidified Kulu. We did spend that money, but it was a blanketing spending on the whole squad. Whereas I think that some of these other clubs do go spend that big buck. But clubs back managers differently. That's where I think it gets so not misinterpreted, but like the difference between people. Sorry, Haz, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say the amount of players you buy and how much you spend on players shouldn't dictate whether a manager's been backed or not. In my opinion, you have all the ingredients, yeah, and then when you put the ingredients together, the result is what you want to have at the end of it, right? So what I mean by that is it's not just about the players. Yes, you can bring the players in, you can bring them in young, you can bring them in from academies and stuff, but it's everything outside of it that needs to come together, which for me dictates whether you back a manager or not, i.e. your scouts, i.e. all the coaches, i.e. everything else that goes on around the club needs to be facilitated for the manager to then implement what he wants to do. It's not about dropping 60, 70, 80 million pounds on ready-made players, because we don't do that as a club. Manchester City can do that. They can drop that sort of money and then concentrate behind the scenes on bringing up a few young players. But we need to show that we're backing the manager by bringing in, medical staff, bringing in new coaches, bringing in scouts, bringing in everything else that goes around it. So, yeah, it's not about, we went and dropped £60 million on this player, so we've backed him. We went and dropped £50 million.
Has Ange been backed in that with what you just said? Has Ange been backed then?
Ash, I think we're going around in circles here. It's like 6 of one and half a dozen of another, right? That's what we're doing here.
Sorry, Barry.
That's what we're doing here, guys.
I was just going to finish off by saying and answering Ash, right? The signs are there, and I know you want to finish up soon, Sava. But the signs are there. We've brought in this. What was the guy that we brought in? Lang. We brought in Lang. We brought in this other guy. Scott Munn as well. So we're doing things in the background. I think that there's new scouts that have come in as well. The coaching setup is different. The academies have been taught a different way. You know, they're learning a different system. So I think there are things going on in the background which, you know, Ange wants everyone singing from the same hymn sheet, which we never had under Conte, we never had under Jose Mourinho, certainly never had under Nuno, maybe under Pochettino. But for me, there's something going on at the moment. All the ingredients are slowly sort of coming together.
But you get that, right? That change. Sorry, but you get that change in it, right? Though sorry, Sam. I know you want to go. I'll stop.
Example, Jacob, is Brighton. Yeah, they've got all the scouts. They've got all the scouts in place. They're bringing in all these players that they're identifying early on, and it fits into the manager's criteria. Sorry, you can finish the show now, Selva.
cheers. Listen, we could do loads on this. Listen, first of all, a couple of super chats that I need to get to. Jim has said, "Love Jacob's love for Sonny. Big up, mate. Big up to you, Jim." Off the back of that as well, I've got to say that Son, nearly 200 people have voted, and over 100 of those people would prefer Son up front to Haaland. I can honestly say, if anyone ever wonders why Spurs don't win trophies, it's because we have fans that make decisions like that. I know who I want in my team all day, every day. Big up for that. And Jim has also come on to sort his wife out and say, "Kate drooling over Van der Ven, you're such a flip-flop." I guess for Kate's birthday, Jim is going to dress up in a Netherlands kit. Van der Ven on the back, leave his studs on and all, and get all dirty on the grass. I'll leave you all with that thought. We will be back tomorrow. Tomorrow night's going to be a long one. Starting at 7 o'clock, we've got all the build-up to Tottenham Hotspur versus Fulham for a live watch-along. And then at 10 o'clock, we've got the post-match analysis and call-in show. So please join me. So it'll be live from about 7 till about 11:30 midnight. So that'll be fun. And my wife will hate me even more than she probably already does. Much love. Thank you to everyone. Thank you for the subscribers. Thank you to the super chats. Thank you for all the likes. Ashmatic and Has are here representing Southview Coys. Please go and subscribe to these guys as well. Their link is in the chat. Thanks, guys. Thanks for coming on.
You're welcome. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you.
Good. 3 words between them. Lovely. Barry, thank you for coming on. Always a pleasure. And have a shave before tomorrow night. It doesn't do you any favors. How did you do that?
He's using his iPhone.
What?
He's using
What are you
his
talking
iPhone.
about? I'm not doing anything.
How did you do that?
It's like what you say. How did you polish
go
your tie?
away. Jacob, thanks for making your debut on the Spurs Review. Always a pleasure. Romero and Sonny and Antonio Conte's biggest fan. Here he is. Thank you very much, Jacob.
Not Antonio Conte's biggest fan.
No. That's all right. Just take it. Take it.
Hey, us Conte fans are 6, 1 in a dozen, or however the saying goes.
Oh, no, there's loads of them. And big up, Kate. Thanks so much for coming on as always. And thanks for mudding Jacob and putting him in his place.
Right. That's really made my year, actually.
I don't remember this ordeal occurring, much like all of Kate's blasphemous statements towards me, but that's okay. We move.
We move. Big up to everyone in the chat. Thank you for all your comments, all the good ones, the bad ones. We've gone for a whole show without any trolls. Absolutely amazing. It's a first. And I don't know how Barry's doing that. Take care, everyone. We'll see you next week. And as always, come on, you Spurs.
Youngman son, Youngman dad.